United States, we have a free press that we expect to do fact checking, and in the era of fake news, whatever that means, it implies that there is, at least in that term, it implies there is an obligation to fact check a story. And of course we're told that, in fact, the White House has said they have alternative facts. The White House says that there is fake news. Well, how do you determine that? You do what is called fact checking. Now, there are in fact two organizations, one the Washington Post and the other PolitiFact out of Florida, that are basically dedicated to checking facts primarily aimed at the president. Fair enough. The whole concept of fact checking would seem to be so fundamental to journalism that unless you're writing a society column, that it would seem that fact checking would be really fundamental to your business. And now it is sort of assumed that it is. There still remains one exception, and that is marijuana. What has really become, I don't know what you call it, a custom, a habit, an addiction to reefer madness, that for decades the National Institute on Drug Abuse, which is mission, is the suppression of illegal drugs. Notice, illegal drugs. They will say alcohol is a drug, tobacco is a drug, but if it's not an illegal drug, then you aren't dealing with drug abuse, and so NIDA doesn't deal with that. But NIDA also operates under a law that prohibits any research. It would support legalization, so that all of the research that NIDA funded for cannabis was aimed at showing the harm that caused by cannabis. Not any possible use, beneficial use, and certainly not any criticism of the prohibitionist policies, such as conflating marijuana and heroin as Schedule I drugs. So there's no difference between marijuana and heroin. Did you hear that, kid? There's no difference between marijuana and heroin. So if you can't find any weed, go get you some smack. Oh yeah, and smoke it, don't shoot it up. And that applies to marijuana too. You have this decades of the latest research, which would be breathlessly reported by the Washington Post and New York Times and thereby all the rest of the country because they are always right. So that whatever it was that was said about marijuana, as long as it was negative, was bound to be printed in all of the very best sources. The other day, a month or so ago, Joe Biden quoted as saying, well, he was concerned that marijuana was a gateway drug. It was really interesting that almost everybody laughed. Joe, Joe. And so, fact is that the former vice president was a drug warrior. The former vice president, who supposed to get big support in the African American community, has supported locking up huge numbers of African Americans with friends like these. But anyway, good old Joe says that he thinks that marijuana is a gateway drug. And literally, in a sense, I don't think the DEA is saying that anymore. But this is, again, just one, how, out of touch a particularly prominent politician can be. The thing is about the gateway drug thing is, pick up a logic textbook. One of the basic concepts in logic is that difference between correlation and causality. The rooster crows, the sun comes up. Now, the rooster may be totally delusional, but I doubt if he even thinks that the sun is coming up. I'll come up. No, but that is, every day, any fool can clearly see the rooster crows and the sun comes up. There is a gateway effect that roosters crowing. In the logic textbook, you will find that as, in Latin, of course, post hoc ergo propter hoc. After that, therefore because of that. In 1972, the late William F. Buckley Jr. called that post pot ergo propter pot. And now, decades later, somebody explained the joke to Joe Biden. This is still going on today. Stories that the other day, they gave a whole lot of THC to monkeys, and the monkeys' kids were wacko. That proves, folks, don't give your monkeys THC. The little monkeys of America are dependent on you to protect the next generation of monkeys coming up. Also, don't let the monkeys have guns either.